Assassin's Creed Mirage may be getting DLC, but let's not forget that it still puts the ass in Assassin's Creed for its storytelling. I have a mission statement today. I'm going to prove to you that the storytelling in the Assassin's Creed Mirage trailer is better than the storytelling in the game. Frankly, it is embarrassing how poor the opening prologue of Mirage is. Honestly, it's not even mid, it's just bad. I think it's a dreadful way to kick off the story. But without further ado, let's do this. So opening with a snake is a fantastic idea because we know that Loki is going to become Basim by the end of the game. He's going to reclaim his memories, and so this sort of gives us a subtle hint. It's a bit like, well, it's literally foreshadowing because we already know from Valhalla how this story ends. We don't get this kind of symbolism in the main game. I don't remember seeing a snake ever. Okay, so that part I will give them, because that does play out in the main game. You do get the whole sequence where Basim recounts the tenets of the Creed, and you even get, the button prompt to chop his finger off. And I must admit, for me, that's like one of the coolest things in this entire game. The coolest part of Mirage is, without a doubt, the fact you have to press the assassinate button in order to chop your finger off. Like, that level of interactivity, I feel like should be in the franchise all the time, but it only happens that once, and it's really disappointing because it's like, you could look into it. You could be like, oh, he's assassinating, he's literally chopping, he's killing the version of himself that existed before the assassins, and I think that's just really cool. It's just a nice little moment in the game, and the cinematic trailer sort of spoils it for you because it shows that it's going to happen. But, he's a hidden one. We know it's going to happen. So then, okay, this is the way the game should have been structured. I'm already annoyed. The game should have absolutely been structured this exact same way, where you get Basim's initiation ceremony as the first scene of the game, and then you flash back to his time as a thief. This is why was this not the structure of the game? Instead, the game is told chronologically, but what it means is, Basim cannot fail. He has to be good from the start. And look, we'll get into it as we see later in the trailer. There's some moments where Basim, he slips, he stumbles, he's not up to speed with the assassins, and the assassins need to metaphorically and literally help him to find a semblance of place and purpose. And that's such good theming for a game to have, especially a smaller title that's more focused on the character. And I do think, Mirage had something there, but unfortunately the execution in the main game, it doesn't really give you this impression because he just seems to be like a fanboy. He just wants to join the assassins because they're cool. He's got, a family. He may be poor, but he's a very good pickpocket and he's able to do everything perfectly fine. So he doesn't really seem to need the assassins. He just wants to be one, which just conveys a totally different message from what it should be. Okay, so that whole section there, while it might just seem like it's setting the stage, it's just going, this is where the Assassin's Creed game takes place. Look at all the culture that's happening. It does have a good second meaning because it's the stuff that Basim wants. It's the stuff that he desires, and it's those desires that Rosham is saying in her narration. This is all the stuff you're going to have to leave behind. Like the culture, the want to, be with beautiful women and be rich and pick these beautiful grapes from a market stall. These are things you're not going to be able to do. These kind of luxuries, the ability to walk down a main high street is going to be lost the second you take this leap of faith. So these are the things you cannot have, and obviously in his past life we see how desperate he was for these things. So it's a big leap for him to disconnect from this. And again, we don't get a scene like this in the main game where he just sort of lives in the world for a bit and we see how downtrodden he actually is. It really does just skip straight to the point. Okay. Yeah, so we'll get into this a little bit more, but I like this part because it shows that he sucks. He's scared, he's terrified, running away. He's a thief, but that doesn't mean he has to be a master pickpocket. He's just a guy trying to survive, and I feel like the game sort of does it a disservice, even in the way that the pickpocket mechanic is designed, because it looks like a flashy minigame. I don't know, I don't get this sense of desperation he has to do it. It feels like something that's a bit more of a goofy arcade style thing, just because you have to, wait until the timing and then get it, and You know, it's just a reuse of the assassinate mechanic from Valhalla, where you had to get the timing correct. Whereas I feel like this trailer really well conveys his desperation and, like, this is the only thing he can do to survive. He wants all these luxuries, but the only thing he can do is crime. The only thing he can do is the wrong moral thing to do. He's sort of, you know, totally lost. And as we'll see here, he sucks. Like, watch this. This moment, this is the biggest moment of the entire trailer for me. The biggest thing that the main game had to get across. It had to deliver on this moment here. Because it's Basim failing. It's him being shown to just not know what he's doing. In the main game, he can just do parkour from the start. He is an absolute master assassin already. He can do everything he needs to. This trailer showing him slipping and falling does more character work at showing the progression of Basim becoming an assassin. You're not just unlocking new skills, it's like the fundamentals of movement is something that Basim can't comprehend. He needs to learn how to do parkour. I can't just run up a building right now. Whereas in the main game, Basim can already do it, and it's like, okay, I get that he's a pickpocket, so it makes sense that he would have stealth skills, you know, already baked into him. But parkour is not something that anyone in Baghdad, like, during that time period should be able to do, except for this mysterious cult of assassins that can do these things. Because they're specially trained. They're trained to kill, they're trained to run away. Of course, they would have to know how to navigate the city on the rooftops. That is also a massive moment there. That moment where she extends her hand and he takes it. That is him accepting the Brotherhood because he sort of has no choice. He was going to die there. He was going to die or he was going to get arrested, and that's it. That would be like his life over. You know, he would have just rotted in prison from this moment on because he sucks. Yes, he's a pickpocket, but it's not like like I say, he's not the best pickpocket ever. And that's all right. It's fine. What they could have done, like a way of actually incorporating this into the gameplay, is having a mission where, I don't know, you're starving. You start the game where you're starving and you're looking for food and you can't get any food, so he says, oh, maybe I can pickpocket and steal it from someone. And when he goes to steal it, it fails, and it automatically fails. You cannot succeed at it. And you have to reenact what's happening in this trailer. You have to run away and you get caught. And you know what? If you want to make the game a little bit longer, stick him in prison. Have a bit where the assassins come to visit him in prison, and this is where he first learns about them, and, you know, he has some information. Let's say he accidentally pickpocketed something useful. They thought that he was working with them, so they say, oh, this information you got, like, what did you find out? Why were you looking for it? Because they're suspicious. And then that naturally escalates to the point where maybe the assassins break him out of prison because they think he's more important than he actually is. And that's... Look, I've just wrote a better story for you. You know I have thoughts on this. This is Alamut, by the way, guys. You may not be familiar with it if you've played Assassin's Creed Mirage, because you don't go there. Yeah, this is insane. This is actually mental. This is something I cannot believe. Is that in the entire game of Assassin's Creed Mirage, you never go to Alamut proper. You never go to this castle being built. You just go to, like, the grounds before it. You just go to the little canyon where everybody's chilling while the main thing's being built. You never actually go there, whereas, look at what's happening in this scene. Even though Alamut is still being constructed, they're fighting in it, they're training in it, they're not waiting around. It shows that the assassins are so proactive that they're not concerned. They're running out of time. They got a job to do. They got to hurry. You get that just from looking at this. You get the impression that the assassins are not waiting around, you know? This is a proactive Brotherhood, which is not one that we've had very much in the series at all. And showcasing this location with all this architecture, all of this scaffolding that you should be able to climb up, but that's not in the game. None of that is in the final game. I mean, it's there, you can see it in the background, but you can't interact with any of this architecture. You can never go here in the main game, and people have criticised the game for that. Like, does it detract from the storytelling if you don't actually go there? Because you could argue the scene between Basim and Roshan, this does happen in the game. This is in the game. You have a whole training montage where you learn how to fight. Now, the difference here is Basim thinks he's won and then she overcomes him and she supposedly kills him in that scene there. I would love to know how he actually survived that. So the idea is, even though he is good enough to be an assassin, he is still not good enough to be a master assassin, which is proven because, you know, I can't remember how the prologue goes exactly. I can't remember if Roshan does beat him, but she should have. She should still be able to beat him even in the tutorial. So now, what this really excellently does is it gets the backstory out of the way and then it moves you, it transitions you into the mission. This is like the part of the game that you're now going to be playing. This is what you would think is, okay, we've got the character stuff out of the way now. What's really going to drive me to play this game? What's the appeal? So this is where it has to now sell itself on the assassin fantasy. The red smoke bomb was a fantastic piece of marketing because it gave this game an actual bit of identity that none of the other AC games had, to the point where it became the cover of Shadows for some reason. Yeah, excellent. That sort of implies Hidden Blade combat that didn't happen. That was good. That was a nice little touch there. Did you notice? This time they're chasing him and they're the ones stumbling. What this sequence does really well is showcase all of the different tools and abilities that you will get as Basim, and it really leans on the stealth aspect of it, I feel. It sort of reassures fans, look, this is going to be in the game, like, you know, the smoke bombs are in the game, the combat is going to be more like Hidden Blade sort of focused, which it isn't, but, you know. Yeah, so Basim is like cocky and overconfident because of course he's going to be. He's spent his whole life in poverty, and now when finally given the opportunity to do something about it, of course he's going to be overconfident, and that should lead him to make mistakes. And, you know, this is stuff that could have been explored in the game if it was told chronologically. I mean, talking of chronological, the fact that only the prologue is chronological, the one bit that shouldn't be chronological is, and then the whole rest of the game is just pick whichever mission you want to do. It's up to you what order you want to take out your targets in, when we should have had Basim failing, naturally getting better at killing his targets and more efficient until we get, you know, the version of him that's maybe like really confident in himself and he doesn't need Loki. And then you get Loki. His memories come back and it's more tragic because this character had finally gained the confidence to be the person that he wanted to be. Just to have it stripped away, that would make, you know, original Basim, not to say that obviously it's the same character, but it's one that's had memory loss and one that hasn't. So it's like, oh, that version of Basim was actually doing really well, and if Loki wasn't here, you know, he could have been a person of his own, but unfortunately his past self is now in the driving seat. And I just feel like the game has about 20 minutes at the end where Loki is actually like a present force of the narrative, and it's just sort of there to go, oh, look how sympathetic he is, oh, he got beaten up as a young Isu man. Yeah, and now we're just gonna be Assassin's Creed, like, yeah, the AC2 throwback makes no sense, but, you know, nostalgia. Nostalgia, guys, do you get it? It's Assassin's Creed. Clap because you hear the music. Right. That one bit there, that does something very interesting, and it might just be me I don't know if I'm reading into it correctly, I'm going to be honest. But obviously it is meant to parallel this moment here, where Roshan, she fake out grabs him, and, you know, she would have killed him there and then, but she throws him off and all that. But Basim's not messing about. Like, Basim is a character who should have a lot of rage. He should be very immature because he's sort of not had a childhood and he's not really had father figures or anybody to bring him up properly. So he should be full of rage, unaware of how the world really works, so really naive. And the assassins, I don't think, should be able to get that through to him. I think this is so baked into who he is as a person that the assassins can't just turn him into their drone, which is the sort of thing that I think AC1, you know, all of the assassins are meant to be drones. They're not meant to have their own personality. It's why they all wear the same robes, and they're sort of meant to compete with each other, I feel, with AC1. Whereas in Mirage, it feels like a bunch of mates hanging out with each other. But I feel like they should not understand Basim, and even though they teach him their ways, he's still a very powerful force in terms of his personality, is what I think they should have done. It's not what comes across in the final game at all. I mean, The final game does not have any of these implications because it is not a story that progresses. It's a story that starts and ends, and there is nothing in the middle because there can't be any progression because of the way the game is laid out, and the structure of the narrative is non-existent. I know I've said for so long that I would do a character study on Basim. The reason I haven't is because I would be basically doing the opening 5 minutes of Mirage and the last 5 minutes of Mirage. The video would be 10 minutes long because there's nothing in between. There is no character development whatsoever. But the implication in this trailer, which I love, is that Basim is an angry dude and he will be the one to kill the guy. He's not going to let him go. That is a face of a man who is fucking fuming. He does not convey this at all in the main game. I don't get the anger and the rage that should be seething inside him, you know. This shouldn't be a character that's charismatic, I don't think. I think just rewatching this trailer, it just really hammers home how important the narrative was to Mirage, and I think this trailer was like false advertising in the worst way possible, where it does a better job of telling the story of the game and Basim's arc. It does it better than the main game. The game doesn't have an arc for Basim, really. I mean, I can't even draw myself to any scenes or anything in particular that makes Basim anywhere near as characterized as the Basim that we see in this trailer. And it's a shame. I still feel like Assassin's Creed Mirage had so much untapped potential. You know, we know we're getting a DLC for Mirage, and I'm fingers crossed that some of this untapped potential, maybe with the fact that he never grew up with a father figure, maybe that's actually going to get acknowledged in the DLC. That would be absolutely incredible. There is rumours that Basim's father is in it, so that might just be intense copium, especially after seeing, you know, a trailer like this. But anyway, what do you guys think of Basim's story in Mirage? How do you think it could be improved? Do you think I was on the money with this, or do you think I've just totally gone off in a different direction? Let me know in the comments. If you did enjoy, please like the video, subscribe for more Assassin's Creed content, and I will see you in the next video.